Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for Friday, August 22nd, 2025. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen D. Martino, CDM number 9, that's Certified Digital Meteorologist. So, first we start off with some information from the CDC, which again, as you may have known, or now you know, I'm working with them to provide data on, the flu and COVID and whatnot, just because we're moving towards the fall season. Everyone's going back to school. And as you know, kids pick up all sorts of things. So it's a good idea to just get that information. So I provide that every Friday now going forward. So right now, the biggest virus that is growing in the region is actually COVID, according to them. There is a slight uptick, not as much here, but more so actually down towards the southwestern United States right now. But we're moving towards that season. I did ask about the flu virus and other viruses. Actually pretty low right now. So that's a good sign here. So hopefully as we get ready for the school season, you get prepared, have all your medicines and whatnot together. And as always, go talk to your doctor if you have any other further questions. So certainly some good news that, hey, look, we're seeing this uptrend, but we should see it starting this time of year. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. And next week, we'll have more data on possibly the flu and other viruses out there as well. Meanwhile, the tropics, a little bit more active, but not as bad as beforehand because Aaron is exiting out of the region. We'll talk about Aaron in just a moment. These other disturbances, though, notice the trend here. These disturbances are, well, not really all that impressive. There's a good chance we see a tropical depression or a storm form out of this over the next 48 hours. It is starting to develop a low-level circulation. Convection's a little bit disorganized, though. But the good news is that you see this trough right here. It's going to pick this right up and send it right up into the northern Atlantic, so no threat to us. This disturbance as well shows a more robust mid-level circulation, but there's some debate as to whether the low-level circulation has been established yet. It looks like there's some data, other data not so much, and certainly not a lot of convection with this disturbance as well. But, keyword here is but, it is moving into a favorable area of development, which is right here. But model guidance really just kills a lot of this off. Here is the precipitable water value. I like to use this because it really does a great job of showing where your warm core lows is. So this is a great example. This is Aaron, a great example of a warm core low transitioning into an extratropical low. Okay, that's a great signal there. And then we have our two disturbances right here and another tropical wave moving off the coast. And again, there is no threat to the eastern United States. So don't worry, all you TikTok fans out there who want to create crazy videos. Unfortunately, you're going to be plumb out of luck creating hype because there won't be any. In fact, take a look at this. When we take a look at the ensemble guidance and take a look at the potential for these storms, it is really, really quiet for this time of year. And part of that is due to what we study, the MJL. And let me go right here to the European guidance, which is performing the best thus far. And basically what it's showing is that, hey, we're in phase 3, which is a somewhat favorable. Really, your favorable phases are 8, 1, and 2, okay? When we get to that, activity really picks up in the Atlantic. But it's going into phase 3, it's in phase 3, and then going into a neutral state through mid-September. Now, if this actually verifies, this means that you're getting a lot of suppression over the tropical Atlantic. It doesn't enhance the potential. So we could be going towards the peak of the hurricane season with unfavorable conditions in the Atlantic, which is why we're starting to see a lot of quiet signals. So that's certainly some great news. Now, a little bit closer to home, let me jump right here. It's quiet. High pressure building in, sunny skies everywhere. We do have a northerly wind around 5 to 10 miles per hour, at times pushing up to 15 miles per hour, and some gusts along the immediate coast. Notice we still have a nice little pressure gradient here. We don't have our tropical storm warnings or anything of that nature out there anymore. But even though the weather tap radar and surface map is pretty quiet, notice we got some trouble out here. So let's jump to the water vapor satellite picture. Here we go. This looks really, really cool. Okay, so this is what's left of Erin. And how do we know it's transitioning to an extratropical storm? Well, it certainly looks like a nor'easter, right? The dry air is coming in on the southwest side as colder, drier air relative is driving in towards the tropical core, which is right here. You could make the case of a warm seclusion, but really you have your tropical warm core structure here. That's what's remaining. And the rest of this is becoming cold core. Now, the problem here is that when it becomes cold core, the winds expand, right? So this is still producing some strong wave heights along the Jersey Shore. And unfortunately, even though the weather is beautiful, still some really strong riptides. So I would not suggest going into the water this weekend for your own safety, because even though those riptides will be declining in strength, they still can be pretty powerful. And if you're not a very good swimmer, you can end up in a lot of trouble. Even if you're a good swimmer, you can end up in a lot of trouble. So I would suggest not going in the waters this weekend, but certainly some pretty impressive wave heights. The bulk of the coastal flooding is now subsiding, but still another high tide's on the way. So again, we'll watch out for that, but I think the worst is done in that respect. And our next threat is way back here. This cold front right back here. So when we take a look at a visible satellite picture, again, it is beautiful. We have a few low clouds in some of our valleys, but that is about it. On the infrared satellite picture, again, there is Erin heading out. Say goodbye. We won't be talking about her anymore. This cold front here will be approaching. Now, it does have a little bit of nice convection right here, but by the time it moves through our area on Sunday evening, it won't be really packing much of a punch. So let's take a look at the data here and just show you over the next 90 hours, 500 millibar heights rising, beautiful weather conditions. When you have this ridge axis here, that means it's very quiet, but we're going to be transitioning to more of a long way trough over the region. And what that basically means is that you get this trough sitting over the eastern United States, and you get short wave after short wave to move through. Now, in the winter, this may produce a very stormy weather pattern, but in the late summer and early fall, it tends to produce a lot of progressive cold fronts, not a lot of precipitation events, scattered showers. In terms of the potential for thunderstorms over the next 90 hours, let me jump to Cape values here. With this cold front moving through, not very strong Cape values. For this time of year, around 500 to 1,000 joules per kilogram is not really all that impressive. So I like the idea of a few convective showers, but nothing severe out of this cold front at all when it moves through Sunday night through Monday. It picks up a little bit via the difference in the coastal waters here. I think this might be a little bit more of an error, but you kind of get the idea here. This cold front is not going to pack a punch in terms of thunderstorms, but certainly the potential for a few showers. And when we take a look at the precipitable water values with the cold front passage, it bumps it up to a half an inch to an inch and a half. Again, not all that impressive, but you could get a little bit of a brief moderate shower, in the overnight hours, Sunday night into Monday. But really, the rest of the weekend is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, take a look at the 700 millibar relative humidity. It is very low. Then once we get that cold front established, what we'll have is cold air aloft and still a relatively warm ground, because after all, it's still summer. So you're talking about a lot of temperatures through the period in the 70s and 80s, colder air aloft. In fact, we could show that here with 850 millibar temperatures. So what you have in this environment with these colder temperatures relative to the ground aloft is a lot of instability. So it could produce a lot of troughs moving through, instability showers, pesky showers here and there, capable of a brief heavy downpour, and then you're done. It lasts about 15 to 30 minutes, and that is about it. But really, that is the whole forecast as we move on through next week. So let's dive into this forecast, shall we? Okay, so for today, high pressure building in, winds subside, the coastal flooding subsides, the riptides subside, and we have temperatures very nicely in the mid to upper 70s over the interior, upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast. For tonight into tomorrow morning and really into tomorrow afternoon, look for scattered cloud cover. Low temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s along the coast. High temperatures in the upper 70s to lower 80s. Beautiful weather conditions on Sunday. A cold front will approach, but I'm going to keep that cold front off to our west, which is scattered cloud cover throughout the day. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s along the coast. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s on the I-95 corridor, upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast. On Sunday night into Monday, the cold front moves through with scattered showers. Nothing really all that impressive in terms of rainfall. Basically around a tenth of an inch at most. Look for temperatures on Monday to range from the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, upper 60s to lower 70s along the coast. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast, and mid 80s on the I-95 corridor. On Tuesday, rinse and repeat, and really the same thing on Wednesday as well. Series of troughs move through. An isolated shower will be possible, but that's pretty much about it. Otherwise, a mix of sun and clouds. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 50s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s in your urban areas, and upper 50s to lower 60s in your suburbs. Look for high temperatures to range from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, upper 70s to lower 80s on the I-95 corridor, and mid to upper 70s everywhere else. Then on Thursday, a high-pressure system will be in control, but clear skies, tranquil conditions. Look for low temperatures in the upper 40s to lower 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s everywhere else. Look for high temperatures to range from the mid to upper 70s over the interior and along the coast, upper 70s to lower 80s on the I-95 corridor. And on Friday, a cold front will move through the region with a wave of low pressure passing to our north, with the threat for a few scattered showers. Look for low temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s and high temperatures to range from the lower to mid 70s over the northern interior, mid to upper 70s along the coast, and upper 70s to lower 80s on the I-95 corridor. That is your premium public video discussion for today. Have a wonderful day. And as always, stay safe out there.